Hello students. So in this video we are going to solve the exam paper from the year 2018 set B class 8 NSO and questions 26 to 50. So let's begin, and in any other videos you learn the quickest method, you learn the science concepts and fundamentals, and this will also help you in your class 8 school exam. So you may want to like and subscribe so as to get notified about the next video which will be there in the next few days. Okay, question 26. Match column 1 with column 2 and select the correct option from the given codes. Okay, so here you have to only solve the easiest one. So which of the easiest one that you know? One of the easiest one that we know is paraffin wax. It is used to make candles. It is used to make candles, isn't it? Paraffin wax is used to make candles. Paraffin wax is not used to make road surfacing. Paraffin wax is not a fuel for vehicles. Paraffin wax is not a jet fuel, jet engine fuel. So paraffin wax is the only substance used to make candles, isn't it? So Q3. What is Q3? Q3 is option D. That's it. Only one option you need to solve. Okay, question 27. Priya, a class 8 student, collected following items 1 to 6 and tested them with different indicators. And then you have to match the acid base reaction with the color of the indicators. So fill in the blanks by selecting an appropriate option. She observed that methyl orange indicator turned yellow, isn't it? So toothpaste and baking soda and limestones are base, and hence methyl orange will turn yellow. So with toothpaste and then baking soda and then limestone, the methyl orange will turn yellow. And vinegar, curd is basically lactic acid, isn't it? Curd is lactic acid. And lemon is citric acid. They are all both mild forms of acid. So curd, lemon and vinegar, they are mild acids, and then China rose, because of that China rose will turn magenta. Okay, next one. Question 28. Read the given statements and select the correct option. Statement 1. Petroleum is a fossil fuel. And statement 2 is kerosene is not obtained as a fractional distillation of petroleum. Again, you have to remember this diagram. The fractional distillation of crude oil, isn't it? Where crude oil, it is heated in a furnace, and then in the fractional distillator, the various substances are distilled, isn't it? So which are the least dense substances? Butane and propane, they are gases, isn't it? They are the least dense, so they are distilled at the top. And then petrol also is extremely volatile, isn't it? Normally at petrol station you will see the fumes of petrol. So petrol is distilled on the top. Then is kerosene, isn't it? And then is diesel is denser than petrol or less volatile. And then is fuel oil, isn't it? Fuel oil is the least dense. And then lubricating oil, paraffin wax and asphalt, they are the products of fractional distillation. And so statement 1 is true. Petroleum is a fossil fuel, isn't it? It is a fossil fuel. And then statement 2, which is kerosene is not obtained as a fraction of fractional distillation, it is false, because kerosene is obtained, it is it, at 200 degrees you do obtain kerosene as a product of fractional distillation. Next one, Savita had 4 meals, iron, zinc, X and Y. She arranged the following experimental setup and observed that displacement reaction took place in each case, isn't it? So here you have to understand or learn the reactivity series, isn't it? So most reactive to least reactive. The most reactive is potassium, then sodium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum, carbon, zinc, iron, tin, lead, hydrogen, copper, silver, and gold. So, how do you remember these metals? Again, this is from online math learning. So, how do you remember? You remember by this phrase: "Please stop calling me a careless zebra. Instead, try learning how copper saves gold." Isn't it? Please. The P is for potassium. Stop, the S is for sodium. Calling, so Cal is for calcium, M is for magnesium. So again in this reaction, displacement will take place in which case, so X and Y are copper and Ag Argentine, which is silver, isn't it? So copper is high more reactive than silver, and that's why displacement reaction will take place, isn't it? Again here iron is so sulfate of X is copper, isn't it? So iron is more reactive than copper, so here again displacement reaction is going to take place. Zinc and X, so zinc is copper, so zinc and copper, zinc is more reactive, so it will displace copper. So again zinc and this sulfate of copper, this again here is going to take the reaction, and copper and silver, because copper is more reactive than silver, the displacement reaction will occur in beaker 3 as well. Select the correct option for the given statements. Plastics are generally good conductors of electricity. This is false, absolutely false, isn't it? Plastics are bad conductors. All the switches and all, they are made up of plastic because they are bad conductors of electricity. Ropes are made up of bakelite and used in cranes and elevators. Again, this is false, isn't it? Ropes cannot be made up of bakelite. Bakelite is brittle. You don't want ropes to be brittle. You want them flexible. Teflon is a special plastic on which oil and water do not stick, which is true, isn't it? So normally, if you go to their kitchen, you may find Teflon pans, the black colored pans on which there is a Teflon coating. So it is a special plastic on which oil and water do not stick, isn't it? So you use them for shallow frying. And plastic is a non-biodegradable plastic is non-biodegradable, hence not environment friendly, which is true, isn't it? Plastic doesn't degrade; it is not biodegradable. Miss Ruchi, a class 8 teacher, heated 5 different substances, 1 to 5, in air and tabulated her observations as follows. So again, this is an easy one. So physical change occurs in what? One is purple crystals to purple vapors, and chemical in change in mass, no change. So this again is a physical change, isn't it? Number five, gray rod turned red and came change in mass, no change. So turn red on what? Turn red on heating, isn't it? So this is a physical change. Again, purple vapors on heating. And two, gray metal, white ash, gain in mass, again, which is burnt, isn't it? It is when you burn something, you are basically changing the chemical structure, isn't it? So this is a chemical change. White solid, it at the end of the experiment, so it remains white solid, but there is loss in mass. So again, and it produces carbon dioxide gas. So anything which produces any other different substance, again, this is a chemical change because you are conducting a reaction. Green powder, black residue, and loss in mass. So loss in mass or any byproduct of a substance produce carbon dioxide gas. Again, all these are chemical changes. 2, 3, and 4 are chemical changes. 32. Which of the following statements is or are correct? LPG is non-flammable substance. No, LPG is flammable substance, isn't it? Normally, if you go on highway, you may find LPG tankers, and on that tankers, at the back side of the tankers, it is written that LPG, very highly inflammable. You know, it is LPG is highly inflammable. On burning, camphor produces flame while charcoal does not produce flame, which is true, isn't it? Because camphor, which is karpur, it produces flame. You use camphor during aartis and various functions. While charcoal, isn't it? Charcoal is something which is used for for cooking as well. So it does not produce any flame. Sulfur is non-combustible, non-metal. So sulfur is combustible, isn't it? Sulfur produces sulfur dioxide. Combustion of phosphorus is an example of rapid combustion. So it is basically spontaneous combustion. Phosphor, it spontaneously ignites at 30 degrees, isn't it? So you have to be extremely careful. The industries which produce phosphor, they need to be extremely careful because normally at 30 degrees, which is the atmospheric temperature, phosphor, it can spontaneously ignite, and phosphor normally is then also mixed with other kind of materials to produce firecrackers as well. Study the given Venn diagram carefully and fill in the blanks. So easy one. So first is, what is number one? Physical and chemical change. Okay, physical and chemical change is burning of LPG in kitchen, isn't it? So liquid petroleum gas, liquid petroleum, it burns, isn't it? It burns to form gas. So it is basically a chemical as well as physical change. And number two is physical and irreversible change, bursting of a balloon. Physical change, isn't it? Because the shape of the balloon changes. It is basically torn and also deflated, and it is irreversible. Once it is torn, you cannot join it back. And metabolism of food, which is also irreversible change and chemical change, is it? Because you are digesting the food, you are extracting the proteins and the vitamins and minerals. So it's a chemical change, also it is irreversible change. Once it is digested, it cannot be brought back to the original state. 34. Read the given paragraph where few words have been italicized. Pituitary gland is located just below the hypothalamus, which is okay, isn't it? And and controls the activity of other glands. Thyroid gland is located in front of the neck. In front of the neck, isn't it? It secretes hormone thyroxine, which regulates metabolism. Parathyroid gland secretes hormone calcitonin that regulates level of calcium in blood. Is it? So parathyroid glands are located just behind the thyroid glands. Just behind the thyroid glands. Adrenal glands are paired glands present at the top of each ovary, and they secrete hormone, parathormone. Select the correct option. So again, this is adrenal glands. They are not located on top of each ovary, isn't it? Adrenal glands are located on the top of the kidneys. And neck and thyroxine should not be replaced, as they are correctly mentioned. Thyroid is in the neck, isn't it? It is basically secretes thyroxine. But parathyroid gland, parathyroid gland, it secretes calcitonin. So basically, this is incorrect, isn't it? It is incorrect. So calcitonin should be replaced with insulin, isn't it? It is correct. Basically, parathyroid, it secretes calcitonin, which is the correct option. And ovary and parathormone should not be replaced, as they are correctly mentioned. Okay, so again, this is incorrect, because ovary, adrenal glands are present on top of each ovary. This is incorrect, isn't it? Adrenal glands, they are on top of the kidneys. So again, this is incorrect. They should be replaced. Ovary and parathormone should be replaced. So adrenal glands are paired glands present on top of each kidney. On top of each kidney. And hypothalamus must be replaced by medulla oblongata, isn't it? So again, this also is incorrect. There should not be any replacement. So this should be replaced. There should not be any replacement, and this it should not be any replacement, because calcitonin, uh, this parathyroid, it does secrete calcitonin, so it should not be replaced. So the only correct is option is neck and thyroxine should not be replaced, as they are correctly mentioned. Refer to the given figure regarding zonation in terrestrial biosphere reserve and select the correct option, isn't it? So what is terrestrial biosphere reserve? It is the areas which are demarcated for preserving natural entities, natural forests, isn't it? Or natural lakes, or basically parts of nature which we need to preserve, isn't it? So if you see that there is a forest, and you want to preserve the forest. So again, some of the forests, Nilgiri forests or Panchmadi, isn't it? Or forest of Great Nicobar. So in those core areas, there is no human activity allowed. So in the core areas in the center, no human activity is allowed, isn't it? On the periphery of that core area, which is the buffer zone. So blue is the buffer zone. You may have you may do certain research, isn't it? Only scientific experiments could be done. So scientists can go here, they can conduct some experiments and all, and that's it. You can have your small scientific camp. That's it. And on the outer boundary of then the buffer area, then you can have the human settlement. So normally tribals or other villages, they can live on this outer boundary, isn't it? You can have houses, you can do your farming and cropping. That is allowed. So again, some of the terrestrial biosphere reserves in India: Nilgiri Forest or Gulf of Mannar, Sundarbans Forest in the east of India, near Bangladesh, Nanda Devi, again the Parbat, Nokrek, again the northeast, Panchmadi in the Maharashtra, Simlipal, again northeast, Amarkantak, again where the river Narmada starts, Nicobar Islands, Agasthamala, and Kanchenjunga, which is again a mountain in the Himalayas. Okay, next one. After vigorous exercise, changes occur in the muscle tissue. Compared with at rest conditions, what will the changes be? Again, the most of the levels will decrease, isn't it? Because your muscles are getting tired because of exercise. So most of the levels will decrease except lactate, isn't it? So lactate will increase. The other levels will decrease, and because lactate is lactic acid, and because it is lactic acid, the pH level also decreases. So glycogen, which is stored form of glucose, you need that during exercise, so glycogen decreases. ATP, which is adenosine triphosphate, which is a store of energy, because you are exercising, you are using that, so ATP also decreases. Lactate is basically because intense exercise, there may not be enough oxygen available to complete the process, so substance called as lactate is made. So muscles actually they produce lactate, and because lactate is lactic acid, the pH will decrease. Question 37. The given box shows some rabi and kharif crops, and you have to correctly categorize them. Again, you note the difference between kharif and rabi crops. So kharif comes first, isn't it? Because cultivation begins on the onset of monsoons in May. Then comes rabi. Then cultivation begins in October. So Kharif, the sowing of seed is done in June or early July. So once the tilling is done in May, plowing of the field is done in May, you sow the seeds in June or July. In Rabi, the sowing of seeds in October to November. You plow the field in October and you can sow the seeds in November. And crops are harvested September to October, isn't it? So July, August, within 1.5 2 months, the crops are already ready, and you can harvest the crops, which are rice, millets, maize, groundnuts, jute, cotton. And here crops are harvested April to May, isn't it? Because October to November, so crops take a longer time because of the winter season. The crops take a longer time to develop, and then they're harvested in April to May, such as wheat, gram, oilseeds, mustard, isn't it? And crops depend on the monsoons. Here the crops depend on monsoons because you sow the seeds in June, which is summer, or early July, just the start of monsoons. So these crops are dependent on monsoons. But rabi crops, they are dependent on the subsoil moisture, isn't it? Subsoil moisture, and you also may need to water the soil. You may also need to water the soil. Okay, refer to the given diagram. Gamete X and gamete Y, they come together, and fertilization, it is within the body. So zygote, which is the early stages of embryonic development, the fertilization occurs within the body in organism A, and in organism 1 and organism 2, isn't it? So in different organisms, so gamete X of organism 1, it fuses with gamete Y of organism 2 to form a zygote, which is in outer medium. So in the same organism, if both the gamete X and gamete Y are coming together to form a zygote, then what is this? It is basically a hermaphrodite, or person or animal having both male and female sex organs, isn't it? So just like snails or slugs or worms, isn't it? In those animals or organisms, the both sex organs are present, and because of that, the zygote forms within the body. Unisexual is either male or female. So organism 1 or organism 2 are unisexual, sexual, and then The fertilizers in humans, normally the fertilizer it occurs within the females, but in fishes and amphibians, the fertilization it occurs outside of the fish or outside of the amphibian. You must have seen videos of fishes or sea dragons, releasing their eggs or releasing their sperms inside of water. So outer medium is water, isn't it? So in that the fertilization it occurs outside of the organism, inside and in a outer medium such as water. You must have seen the videos on Discovery or National Geographic, and then it forms the zygote of, with a small baby fish, and then they hatch from that. Which of the given containers will continue to have healthy fish and plants at the end of a week, isn't it? So again in B, there is a layer of oil. If there is a layer of oil, then the oxygen kind of transfer cannot happen between water and air. So this absolutely is not a no-no, isn't it? You cannot have a layer of oil and then you cannot expect fish to survive because water will not get enough oxygen. Similarly, plants will not survive. Suspended matter may contaminate, isn't it? Suspended matter may contaminate and fishes will die. And similarly, the plants may also die because of the suspended matter. Only clean water is necessary for fish and plants to thrive. So in some aquariums, you may have an aquarium at your place or at your friend's places. The water must be clean. You must clean the aquarium every few days so as to ensure that the water is clean. Not only that, the water must be oxygenated because fish also need oxygen, and the plants, if they are real plants, they will also need oxygen. Read the given paragraph. The cytoplasm of cells of a tomato plant contains organelle X, which is of several types. So type Y is present in leaves of plant. So again, this is an easy one. So what is Y? Y is basically chloroplast. Chloroplast, chlorophyll. So green in color. Chloroplast, chlorophyll, green in color, which contains chlorophyll, a green pigment that absorbs sunlight in photosynthesis and it produces and stores glucose. And chromoplast is what gives the fruits and flowers their colors. It contains carotenoids, which are red, orange, and yellow pigments, and they are found in flowers and fruit, isn't it? So Z is chromoplast, Y is chloroplast, and both are plastids. They are both are plastids. Okay, refer to the given figure and select the incorrect option, isn't it? So, what are the various parts of a flower? There is a sepal, which is base receptacle. Again, the part where the base joins the stem of the flower, anther and filament, which forms the stamen, and again petals are there, and pistil, which is basically the stigma, and then the style, and then the ovary and the ovule, isn't it? So this is the kind of female sex organs, and this is the male sex organs for a flower. So flowers with plants with flowers having both X and Y can never undergo cross pollination, which is incorrect, isn't it? So this normally you see on Discovery or National Geographic. When the bees sit on the flower, the anther or the pollen, it sticks to the bees. And when they go to another flower, they can deposit the pollen on the top of the stigma. The pollen, when they deposit that on the top of the stigma, the pollen drops down and then it fertilizes and then it will with the ovule and then it forms the seed, isn't it? Then it forms the seed. So option D is incorrect. So next one, 42, refer to the given setup. Okay, so there is a whisking tube inside of a test tube, and in the first 100 ml of water and zero point 0.5 m of salt solution inside the whisking tube. In the second, there is water inside the whisking tubing, and then zero point 0.8 m of sugar solution in the test tube. And third one, there is 80 ml of 80 ml of 0.2 m salt solution in the test tube as well as in the whisking tubing, isn't it? So the question is select the option that correctly identifies the volume of liquid in test tubes P, Q, and R after some time. Note that in the third case, in our case, because zero point 0.2 m of salt solution is there in the whisking tubing as well as 0.2 m salt solution is there in the test tube, because both the concentrations are the same. No kind of transfer will happen through the whisking tubing, isn't it? No transfer will happen, and that's why R will remain constant. R will remain constant. The only graph where R remains constant is option D. Here R is changing, here R is changing, here R is changing, but only graph where option R is constant is option D. So option D is the correct option. So that is the easiest method, isn't it? So again, bit more explanation. What is whisking tubing? For your revision, what is whisking tubing? It is an artificial selectively permeable membrane, isn't it? So smaller molecules like water and glucose, they can pass through the membrane. They can pass through the membrane. But larger molecules like starch and sucrose, they cannot pass. They cannot pass. Okay, 43. Read the given statements and select the option that correctly fills the blanks in any two of them. Okay, so any two of them is the zygote divides the number of times and it forms a hollow ball-like structure called 1. And then it what is 1? 1 is basically divides into blastocyst. So 1 is blastocyst. It moves down and gets implanted in the uterus. It starts developing body parts, and at this stage it is called an embryo, isn't it? Embryo. And 3 is the period of in life where a boy, girl or a boy attains sexual maturity, which is that period in life which is called as puberty. And production of sex hormones is under the control of which gland? Pituitary gland. So number 4 is pituitary. And metamorphosis in frog requires presence of what substance? Iodine, isn't it? It requires presence of iodine in water to produce thyroxine hormone. Okay, the given table describes the amount of pollutants in body of aquatic organisms in a river. So amount of lead in the body of organisms, parts per million. So P has got 1.6 parts per million. Q has got 4.3 parts per million. Q is the highest. R has got 0.025 parts per million. R is the lowest. S has got 2.4 parts per million and T has got 0.16 parts per million. So T is the second lowest and R is the lowest, isn't it? So here, if T is getting eaten by R and then S is getting eaten by T, and because then in gradually the amount of lead in the organism will increase. So T is getting eaten by R, R is getting eaten by T, S will eat, T is getting eaten by P, and then P will get eaten by S, and then Q will eat S. S will get eaten by Q. So in the increasing order of the amount of lead, isn't it? Because when you eat the other animal, you are also consuming the lead as well, isn't it? So the easiest way is to have the lowest amount of lead. So that is the first R. And then the second lowest. What is the second lowest? Is T, 0.16. So R and then T. What is the only option having R and T? Option B. Okay, Rahul conducted an experiment to calculate percolation rate of 3 soil samples X, Y, and Z and tabulated his results as follows. So X is 10 milliliters per minute. Rate of percolation is medium. Y is 25 milliliters per minute, which is a very high rate of percolation. And Z is 5 ml per minute, which is the lower rate of percolation. So what is X or Y? What is Y? The highest percolation rate is sandy soils. Sandy soils. So and carrot, potatoes, lettuce, they grow in sandy soils. Z is lowest percolation rate. So clayey soil, isn't it? Clayey soil, which is then what plants grow, juniper or pine. And X is basically medium percolation rate. So loamy soil. Wheat and maize, they grow in loamy soil, isn't it? Soil Y, which is the sandy soil, is found in those areas where plants with thick, fleshy, and photosynthetic stems are present, isn't it? So carrots, potatoes are all thick, fleshy, and lettuce again is thick, fleshy, photosynthetic stems, isn't it? When you consume lettuce, it is photosynthetic stems and leaves, thick and fleshy. Soil Z is evidently found in those areas where plants with aerial breathing roots are present, isn't it? Soil Z is basically lowest percolation rate. So if the percolation rate is very low, the roots are not going to get enough amount of water from the soil, isn't it? Enough amount of water the roots may not get. So the roots are to have aerial breathing roots. So when you breathe from air, you also can absorb moisture as well from the air. And soil X is best suited for growth of wheat and maize, which is correct. Medium percolation rate, which is loamy soil, isn't it? Loamy soil, which is normally in your gardens as well. Normal loamy soil, which is best suited for wheat and maize. Identify the given organisms P to S and select the incorrect option regarding them, isn't it? So incorrect option is, so P could be eukaryotic. So eukaryotic is basically organisms having various organelles in them. There may be nucleus and the other organisms as well, mitochondria and so on and so forth. What is prokaryotic? Prokaryotes are basically they just have a cell membrane and they don't have any organelles. They just have a DNA, isn't it? They lack organelles such as nucleus and other organelles. They don't have nucleus. They don't have mitochondria, isn't it? So they are extremely simplified organisms. So Q could be prokaryotic. So Q could be prokaryotic organism that helps in breakdown of dead bodies. But no, if Q is prokaryotic, it cannot have all these different organelles, isn't it? Cannot have all these different organelles, and it does not help in breakdown of dead bodies. And they are not that complex enough to help in breakdown of dead bodies. So Q is false. Q is false. Okay, question 47. Refer to the given dichotomous key and select the correct option regarding cells. Regarding cell organelles L to O. Cell organelle bounded by double membrane go to 2. And then 2 is direct cell growth and controls its activities. So L is mitochondria. So this is controlling cell activities. L is not mitochondria. What controls activities? It is nucleus. Directs cell growth and controls activities. It is nucleus. Provides color to flowers and fruits. We studied that just a few slides back. So what provides color to flowers and fruits? It is chromoplast, isn't it? Chromoplast removes and also it carries out some oxidative reactions in cell. What carries out oxidative reactions in cells? It is peroxism. Peroxism, it carries out oxidative reactions in cell. And what is a factory for proteins? Golgi apparatus. Golgi apparatus is a factory of in which proteins are processed. So L could be mitochondria. No, it is not mitochondria. It is nucleus. M could be chloroplast. No, it is not chloroplast. It is chromoplast. Chloroplast is green in color, just green in color. But chromoplast is different colors. So it provides colors to flowers and fruit. Removes dead cells and digest foreign materials. Uh, so this could be removes dead cells. It could be a different organelle and carries out oxidative reactions in cells. It is peroxism. Peroxism, it carries out oxidative reactions in cells. So O is peroxism and L could be nucleus. L is nucleus. 48. The given figure represents the fractionating column used in refining of petroleum. Okay, so again you remember the fractional distillation of crude oil. So what comes at the bottom? Lubricating oil, paraffin wax, and asphalt. It comes at the bottom. What comes at the topmost part? Butane, propane, and then comes petrol. The denser materials start coming at the bottom: petrol, and then kerosene, and then diesel, and then fuel oil. So basically, butane and propane, they have the least density. They have the least density, isn't it? So order of densities, basically butane has the least density. So X cannot have more density than Y. Butane and propane don't have more density than petrol, isn't it? So number one is incorrect option. Number one is incorrect option. Okay, question 49. So read the given passage and answer the following questions. So Deepak wanted to find out the time taken by the pendulum to make a complete swing as shown in the figure. He adjusted the factors used in the experiment. The time period of a simple pendulum is calculated by using T. is equal to 2 pi into root L upon G, where L is the length of the pendulum and G is 980 centimeter per second square. He then tabulated his results in the following table. To find out the difference in mass of the pendulum, to find out how the difference in mass of the pendulum bob would affect the time taken for the pendulum bob to make a complete swing, which two setups should Deepak use to for comparison. So difference in mass. So again, this is an easy one. So in the two experiment setups, only the mass should change. Rest the other parameters should remain constant. So which two experiments where only mass is changing and other parameters are constant? Which are the constant parameter? 8 and 2. 8 and 2, isn't it? 8 and 2, 8 and 2. Here length and height are constant. What is changing? Just the mass is changing. 30 and 40. 30 and 40. So which experiments? 3 and 5, isn't it? 3 and 5. 3 and 5. Okay. Next one. So last question. Again, which of the following graphs best represents the variation of t square with L? Again, an easy question. So again, even though question is big, it's a easy question. So normally in the question paper, if you find the question which is difficult, just mark that question as to be done or something. You can revisit that question at the end, and then you can solve such easy questions. So t is equal to 2 pi into root upon g, isn't it? So t is directly proportional to root L. T is directly proportional to root of L. T is proportional to root of L. So t square, if you square, it will be directly proportional to L, because root of L square is L. So t square will be directly proportional to L. So it is a linear proportion, isn't it? It is a linear proportion. So if L increases, t square will also increase in a linear fashion. So with this, students, we have come to the end of the video of exam paper 2018 set B, questions 26 to 50, and you may want to like and subscribe so that you will be notified of the next videos which will be there in the next few days. So thanks for watching this, students. Thank you. Bye bye.